Welcome to the Womenize Inspiring Stories. My name is Mascha Camino, and I have the honor of being your host today. And I have a wonderful guest, Julianne, is here with me. And we're gonna talk a little bit about your work life, about your experiences, and your super cool projects, which I hope to hear a lot about today. So, hello and welcome everyone who's here already. We're super happy to have you. And let's jump right into it. I think there's no time to waste, and I feel like everyone would love to know more about you. And maybe you can introduce yourself briefly, just say hi.
Great. Hi, I'm Julianne Becker. I am the co-founder of a place called Coconat, which is a place that's out in the countryside. It's a creative hub. We host workation, co-working, and co-living on site. And we also work with our region and our neighbors. So we do also get involved in regional rural development projects as well. All kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. And where did you say the Coconut was located? Is it like close to Berlin as well?
Yes. So we're in Brandenburg. We're just 1 hour outside of the city. So you can take the train or you can take a car. Super easy to get there. Yeah.
Okay. And what do I imagine? If I think about the Coconut, is it a huge coconut? Obviously not. It's coconut. But is it like a big house or is it like a complex? What does it look like for people that haven't been there yet?
Well, what it looks like, so for German speakers, it's a goods house, and for others, it's a former manor house. So it was built for a noble family in 1823, a big house. Then it has another side house that was the former servants' quarters.
Oh, nice.
And we have a few barns on site and a park that's about 2 hectares in size.
Cool.
So we have all kinds of stuff. And we have a train,
I know, don't worry.
We have an S-Bahn car, a former S-Bahn car
really?
on site as well, of course.
And people can stay in that car as well?
No, we not yet. No. You'll never sleep in the car, but you'll be able to work in the car. So we'll convert it to co-working. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very nice mixture of having a modern day technology incorporated in a very nice and chill space. In the green. That sounds very cool. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself personally. Like, what was your motivation to come up and build a space like that? So it's very uncommon.
It's pretty uncommon. So you might notice I'm not German. I'm from the US. My journey started a while ago. So I actually studied art. I went to art school in San Francisco, and then I got involved in making indie films.
Nice.
Very short films mostly. And then at some point I decided that I wanted to explore the world more, and I moved to Vietnam. As you do. And I ended up making films for WWF, for a conservation organization. So both for Vietnamese television and for international consumption, in different ways. This was actually before YouTube.
Before YouTube? Ancient times.
So actually in the beginning I had to cut my films into 3-minute segments to get them on YouTube when YouTube just started. Yeah, it was really a thing. It was pretty intense. So I did that for a while. I was very into environmental issues, so it was a really great place for me to be. And I lived there for 4.5 years, and then I decided I'm ready for the next challenge. And I had met some really amazing people there. So I met one of my best friends, and she invited me to come to Berlin.
Nice.
And so I did, and I moved in with her. Had a really hard time finding work in Germany in 2010 because there was no work to be found here. So no filmmaking work, no nonprofit work for me as a non-German speaker. And just moving to Germany.
Extra hard challenges on the way. Yeah.
But eventually I did. So I was, I still did I did some freelance stuff, and then eventually I got a job with a co-working project and got to know this thing called co-working. Was researching and writing a lot about co-working. I ended up also organizing a big conference. It was about social media, so anything that was involved interactive media, online was part of what we would do. So we had over 100 events over the course of a week, free and open to the public.
Nice.
And my last time doing that, actually, we had 50% female representation, which was like,
that's success.
Really cool, and was like a big goal for me. And then, yeah, and then somewhere in the course of like doing all this stuff, I was also working for a nonprofit doing organizing film events. So not filmmaking anymore, but organizing film events and teaching filmmaking.
Like creating a space for filmmakers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also doing screenings and stuff. So it was really, really a cool thing. Anyway, doing all this stuff in Berlin, which is an amazing city. My partner and I were talking, we realized we both kind of had this weird idea to start a company, and then we were like, that's funny. So then we started trying to come up with like original ideas for like a startup.
Your
or
new
something.
startup.
So, so that's what we would do in the kitchen. And and then one day he came back from dinner with a friend, and our friend was also working in film and was like, he would work super long hours editing. And he was like, actually, I wish that I could just be in the countryside and doing this, and then I don't have to ride my bike through the city home. I could just like go for a walk. And you're like, that's a really good idea.
It's also not the first time you probably heard of something like that, right?
Well, everybody in Berlin, they all wanted to go out of the city, especially in the summer. So it's like 10 years ago that we had this sort of moment, and then we started looking into it, and that's how we kind of came to this idea. Like, long story. Well, it was like story long, but it's okay.
But that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, totally. Like, I also work in the field, so I can totally understand the urge to get outside and see some nature again, touch some grass, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So that definitely sounded like something that had to be filled. So great that you could fill it with your Coconat space. Cool. And it's been 10 years, you said, since you came up with the idea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And how long since you built the space?
So 10 years ago we had the idea. Then we did some business planning. We got some great coaching, amazing coaching. So we were able to access that through a lot of different programs available in Germany and in Brandenburg. Then we spent literally years looking for real estate, which was pretty fun, but also at some points like you're like,
now would be a good time to find something.
Then we found a place and we did a proof of concept there. So it's actually another location. It was 60 kilometers north of where we are now, in the Havelland, near the river. It was beautiful. We tested the project. People, they did pay money to come stay with us and work on their own projects. And that was like, will people do that? And they did it. So the concept worked, but the place didn't work out. And then we had to let it go, the place, which was pretty... it was a little bit difficult, but we did it. And then, and then we spoke about our project and our experience publicly. We were invited to present the project in places. And through one of these presentations of the project, 2 different parties from the region where we are now, which is the Flaming, they told us about the property we're at now, which is like this like historic building. It had been converted to a hotel. It was for sale from the town of Bad Belzig, where we're located, and we were like, okay. And so 5 years ago, we were able to open this place. So
such a fortunate fit in the end. It's nice. Cool. I mean, it was a long journey, of course, but very worth it seems. And everything that you explained is called then workation. Is that right? Could you explain a little bit more what workation means, just if someone doesn't really know?
Well, I would start by saying, actually, I left one part out, is that we're an impact-driven project and a social business. So the business part of what we do is the workation concept, and that's where we put a lot of our energy in the beginning, especially. So workation is where you or anyone can spend some time overnight, one night, a week, 1 month, however long you need, to come to a place and focus on your project or your work, your normal work. So some people are working remote jobs, so a lot more nowadays. Actually, that was something that really went up. Or you might be writing a book, or you might be developing a game, all kinds of things. And then you can come out to us. really focus on your project, have a healthy work-life balance, so you can spend the time with us. We feed you. You don't have to worry about making food or making your bed or whatever. Well, actually, no, we don't make your bed, but you can make your bed or not. Nobody cares. And but basically, you can just focus and come there and plug in. So that's the idea of the workation that we have.
Yeah, that sounds like something many people could need in their daily lives. Yeah, that's true. But you said that you are now in Brandenburg, and what's your relationship with Brandenburg? Why did you want to build up there? Was it because it was so close to Berlin initially, or like how did that come to happen?
Yeah, so, well, I definitely fell in love with the city of Berlin when I moved to Berlin, and then, I mean, I saw that this idea would work really well around the city. And it's beautiful. It's so easy to access the countryside from the city. So it just made a lot of sense. So we were like, yeah, we were going to go where we know. We looked around different areas of Brandenburg. And then in the end, yeah, we found this place. And since we had been invited there, it's something that we hadn't been looking for, but we were invited to this place. And from the beginning had a lot of support from, say, the public sector. They've been very supportive of us since we came, both like from the tourism side, but also from the little cities, like from Bad Belzig and from Wiesenburg, which is our neighbor on the other side.
Oh, okay, cool.
So from the beginning, they were interested in what we were doing. They were more than interested. They were like happy that we wanted to do it there. So they were happy to have us, and that also meant that they were interested and made connections for us. And if we didn't know how to do something, they were helpful. So it was really cool. And then since then as well, I mean, we've been relatively successful, and so we've definitely grabbed the attention of people from the region. So also Brandenburg noticed us kind of right away, which was really cool. So they awarded us Brandenburg awarded us an award the first year we were open for bringing a new demographic to the countryside, to Brandenburg.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the beginning of this relationship that we had with our region.
Cool. I guess both sides totally benefit from each other as well. You foster more diversity as well in the region, and you can, bring a new demographic to the place. Yeah, that's actually super nice. I think I've only been to Brandenburg like once myself, but it was very nice, and I could really not believe that it's actually so close to Berlin, and then again still so different. So yeah, a nice place to unwind. You touched on this a little bit before. You said like numbers went up a lot in the past 2 years for people working from home, and how do you feel like COVID strongly influenced the way companies and employees think about their work environment? Do you feel like more people now take some time to think about their work-life balance and so on, and prioritize it a little bit more, or is it the same?
Oh, I think things have changed a lot. So, I mean, we had this experience when most companies were still in home office time, where we had some employees from companies who traditionally never would allow flexible workspace or this home office time at all. And they'd be like, actually, my company thinks I'm at home, but I'm here, and I don't know if it's okay. And I was like, I think it's okay. So it was interesting that people who had never had the opportunity to have this experience got the opportunity to work from home. I mean, it was a forced thing, and of course we were all like also in very stressed situations, and we had to figure out a lot of things. But what it did do is also give people a taste of what is possible from home or in a different environment. And then after so much time, and there's many people who are still in home office depending on their companies, now people are even trying to explore new options. So it's something that I became aware of a long time ago because of co-working, that freelancers or other people who worked at home as their first step started to realize that they actually need a little bit more. So then this is like the rise of co-working spaces and flexible workspaces, the third space it's called in the co-working industry. And so now more and more people are actually looking for those opportunities. And on the other hand, what we also are noticing is like many companies, they see, well, the first thing that they saw was that they can save money by having their employees at home. So a lot of them are cutting down on their office space. But what I've already seen on the other side is that employees, especially at big companies, are like, okay, like, so you're saving money and then I have to pay for my heating money, and I don't get coffee anymore, and I have to pay my internet bill. And so I think that the demand from the employee side is going to be like, okay, you can't just like save money on my back.
That's true.
So I think places like ours are going to benefit from this sort of new dynamic where employees both need a way to reconnect with their teams and each other, but also demanding a healthier work-life balance, which maybe isn't going to an office, but is having the ability to be around other people and have a flexibility.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. And I can tell, like, from my own experience, when it first changed and you went like home to work, it was quite different. And if you're forced to stay at home, that's, I think, again, something different than it is to, you're free to work from wherever you want, like, for example, in your space. But yeah, really having that time to make your own lunch and not feel like, oh my God, I need to get back to my desk right away, because your employer also knows, no, you're going to do the work, it's fine, and we trust you with this. So it's on both sides, it has to be some understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you have any recommendations for finding a healthy work-life balance while working at home or in the office?
Yes. Well, I would recommend like listening, you know, like how you can listen to your body with what you need to eat. You can also do that with like how you're working. So maybe you have a day where actually you don't really feel like getting dressed and like putting on your outside face. So why not just work from home? But working from home all the time also isn't really super healthy for people. So because of we all know, like the distraction of your refrigerator or whatever, like cleaning the dishes, or you just start looking at things, and it's like kind of the old procrastination that a lot of people experience in university. You start having like some of those old symptoms. And so that's where the third space, or even your old office space, is a good option to get out of the house, because being at home alone is not also very productive. And there's studies, and I knew about these studies way before Corona, but I mean, 90% of people are actually much more productive and feel more productive, which means they're feeling healthier when they're around other people. So this has already been there in the statistics from like when I started really looking at new ways of work about like 12 years ago. So I would definitely recommend listening to yourself. And then on the other hand, like, what you can experience when you come to Coconat, and what I hope people will take back away with them, is the chance to get into a green space. So Coconat actually stands for Community and Concentrated Work in Nature. So that's what it stands for. And we force people, at least when they arrive, we do an onboarding, we do a tour, and we take people around and we show them like not just the workspace, but also the outdoor areas.
Where they are free to explore.
Where they should explore. Where like if they need to take a break, they can just take a walk outside and get some fresh air. And that's something that people can also do in any of their work environments, especially in a city like Berlin. I mean, and I know it's not easy in every city to find those green spaces, but just going for a walk and moving around is good for everybody.
Yeah, I think I could also tell, like, whenever you work from home, and I think I speak for many people when I say I don't have a deliberate office space in my flat. There is just no other room, so it's the space where I also live, and just another room which is not the bedroom, basically. And when you spend the whole day inside that one room, it also at some point takes a toll on your mentality, because you're like, seeing the same space all the time again is can be very frustrating for some people. So yeah, one of my colleagues also took longer walks during the day, and he started very early, so it was fine, he could do that. And then he would just walk also in Berlin, and he came back always and feeling way more refreshed, and could then start over again. It was like, okay, let's do this, and had the moment to just unwind a bit. So I think that's good recommendations. And where do you find your personal inspiration? Is there something which you say, now I need some inspiration and I do this and that, or?
I wish it was so easy. I don't, but I do go for, I do go for walks. Like there's definitely some easy walks from, like, so I am pretty much working from Coconut all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's some easy walks, like really, like for me, sometimes it's a little hard to get away from Coconut because it's like, it's like my beast, so I have to be there, or like just the feeling is a little bit different. So I actually have to leave the property. I think a lot of people actually, they can just spend time. We have like a small bit of water, like you can go swimming in and stuff. That. So like a lot of like the guests or like people who are living there temporarily, they, you know, I'll find them in a hammock. Like I cannot do that, because if I'm in the hammock, then I just see like, oh, there's a bottle that needs to get picked up or whatever, you know. So I go for a longer walk. Sometimes I walk home, which is really amazing. So
so you don't live in the Coconut?
No, I don't live on site. I live in the town, so I live about 5 kilometers away. So I don't walk every day to and from work or anything. I do ride my bike. There's a bike path that's really great. It's new and it's beautiful, and now they're planting all the trees right now, so this is great. Yeah, but there's a few walks that I do, and actually what I love about these walks and living in the countryside is that I get to see like these, you're like, oh, it's May, so this flower is blooming now, and like I'm really noticing sort of like these like rhythms of nature, and I don't know, it's kind of,
I think sometimes it happens in the city too, like in the spring when you notice like the little white flowers popping out of the ground, everyone's like, oh my god, you see these 5 flowers? You know, you get super excited about that. But that sounds like a nice way too. Also the physical exercise, just having to ride the bike or walking somewhere, I think already helps a lot, especially when you're working on a desk job. Like I'm a game designer, so I spend a lot of time in front of the TV or in front of the monitor, and sometimes I can really tell my eyesight is already not the best, and then looking into the far away lands helps a lot as well. And you mentioned that you studied art and you developed some development films in your past. Is that still something you do, or is that something that you have in the past for now?
It's like there and not there. So I'm not directly making films right now. I am working with people who will like work on videos with us and stuff. So that's always fun. I mean, the project itself for me was like creating an art project. So like I said, when we were like playing around with the ideas in our kitchen, we were looking for a new idea, and what it felt like to me was creating a new artwork, because I would be when I would create a piece, I would not want to do something that had already been done, so I would be looking for a new idea. So a lot of the process really felt a lot like my artistic process. And so especially when we were building it, I mean, also in the building phase, I was myself creating like physical objects and things like that. Cool. So I was really doing a lot of hands-on stuff. And then we opened, and what actually keeps me going would be actually the reason why I left the art world, which was that I actually wanted to do more. So I didn't want to only be creating things. I wanted to have a positive impact on the world. Like I went to go work for this environmental cause, and now I take a lot of those like lessons learned about sustainability and like choices. So those choices are made with our project every day, and like on the sustainability side of how we operate. But on the even bigger side, what really gets me is that we are having such a big impact on our region. So from the beginning, we built this idea that a project like ours, a tourism project, actually can have a really big impact on your neighbors and even on the region. And so we built that in from the beginning, and that work is actually what really keeps me going. Yeah,
and it's also creative work. So you couldn't say, okay, no, I don't do anything creative anymore. Not at all, actually. It's super nice to hear that you also put so much personal things into the project itself. That's really nice. And speaking of inspiration and, fostering healthy work environments, let's talk about the rabbit a little bit. It's one of the initiatives that also happens at the Coconut.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it, because it also ties into our industry.
It ties into the gaming industry. I saw somebody pop it up there. I don't know who's there. Somebody mentioned the rabbit.
Yes.
So the rabbit is... It's a residency for indie games developers, and the residency is funded. It was funded last year by Medium Board Berlin-Brandenburg, who is very supportive of indie studios, and had the sort of idea. They approached us. They said, "Yeah, maybe you want to host a residency for indie games developers," and I was like, maybe I do. And then I worked together with them and some other people to develop the concept. And so we put a call out, and we were able to host 15 games developers from 5 teams for 1 month. And they came from, it was still pretty high Corona time, so mostly from Germany. We had one person come from outside of Germany. But we still had some international people, more women than men, which was really like, we were like, oh, that's perfect, because we were going for at least 50-50, like for 50-50 at least, and we actually went more. And they came together, lived at Coconut. We converted our biggest workspace into like a game making studio. Nice. So they each had their workstations set up. They each got a coach, and we also had workshops, and then they were also running their own. Oh my God, they did like a board game. What is it called? When you make oh my God, I can't.
Game jams?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
They were doing game jams. They did a board game jam. Wow. Like everybody was playing it, like in all of Coconut. So they weren't alone too. So they were there also with like our other guests and our community of people who were living and working on site. And it was just a really great experience. We also did exploring Brandenburg, you know, our area, horseback riding, long walks, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, okay, that sounds like also Coconut offers a lot of things from within the developers, and also the other people that come to the space can use and utilize, which is super nice. I've met a couple of the teams that went to the Rabbit, and everyone was, you know, being super relaxed afterwards. They said it was a great experience, and what they also used a lot was the time to just go outside and just experience the nature for some time without being in front of your computer all the time.
Yeah.
We love being in front of the computer, don't get me wrong, but it's also good to have this little extra time. Yeah, and why do you feel like a retreat could be beneficial for the concentration maybe as well, and the focus? I mean, we touched on it a little bit before with having all these extra things where you can, you know, step outside a little bit, but maybe there's something else that you think is very crucial to the whole experience.
I mean, I think that the real crucial thing is really going outside. I mean, for everyone. And then, like when we first opened, we had someone stay at Coconut for 1 week, and I asked him about the water in the back, and he was like, "What water?" And I was like, "Oh, you came all the way here and you didn't go outside?"
1 week? Oh wow! And they didn't.
He hadn't really explored the property, so now we really make people, like, we take everyone on a tour to do that, because I think it's so really, really important. For the residency, I mean, we had like a goal of really supporting the studios on, you know, achieving a certain goal in that 1 month. So what was important for us too was to try to give the right tools. Maybe, I think it was our first time, I think we over-programmed a tiny bit. So they were all very thankful for the input, but then also needed a little more time for working. So we definitely are adjusting for that for the next round, which we are, I can very confidently say we are doing it again.
Nice.
It's in the final phases of completing everything, but we are very far in, and we'll be announcing the call in the next 2 weeks.
Nice.
So you should look out for it. And of course, you will know about it. Everybody will know about it. The call's going to go out. We'll do it again from, is it okay if I talk about the date?
Yeah, of course. Please.
So the next edition will be from the 5th of March to the 2nd of April, or is it the 2nd of March to the 5th of April? Oh God, I don't remember. It begins and ends on a Sunday, so it's one. Shoot, I had it written down. I forgot my notes. But it's March to April. It's right before Easter. Actually, that's why it's called the Rabbit, in case anybody's wondering. So I always knew it would be around Easter, and then I was like, oh yeah, Easter eggs and games, and I think it makes sense if we call it the rabbit, so that's what we call it. That's why it's called the rabbit. And yeah, the call is going to come out in the next 2 weeks, and then development teams from all over the world are very, very encouraged to apply, and the plan is that the funding should cover at least one team from the Global South. So tell your friends in other places when you find out, like, everyone has a chance to come. We have put in a pretty good travel budget. Of course, we're going to have a lot of local Berlin-Brandenburg teams, so it'll be about 50% from Berlin-Brandenburg, and then the rest is open to the world.
Nice.
Should be at least 50% female again. And of course, we're looking for all kinds of diversity, and we're very open for everybody to apply.
Great. So. I'm sure that you will have many teams applying, and I hope that...
Yeah, tell your friends.
Yeah, and also you have like a social media page, right, for the rabbit as well,
yes.
for Coconat.
Coconat
make sure
and the rabbit.
To follow that one, and then you will not miss the news about the new rabbit application.
You will not miss the news.
Nice. Yeah, super cool. I really liked the project a lot, and as I said, I only heard good things about it, so whoever can join, congratulations.
The teams were amazing. And it was, for me, like, I know a lot of different tech scenes, but I wasn't sure how it was going to be, because I'm not really from the games industry, admittedly. So I was really unsure how it was going to be, and it was like such a delightful experience, because the teams were so like supportive of each other, so super interested in everyone, like very happy with me to test their games when I didn't know that, and I was like, doing funny mistakes, and they're like, no, this is good to see.
No, it's actually perfect that you test the game.
Yeah, I tested all the games. It was really fun. I mean, I love to explore all kinds of things, so it was super fun. To get to know not just the specific games, but just like, I mean, if they're a representative of the industry, you all have been done a big favor, because they were amazing.
That's
were
so
all
nice.
Really, really
I'm very
cool.
glad that they went there and are such a... Oh, that's so nice. Also, Ruth, thank you so much for showing the date again. It's from the 5th of March till 2nd of April.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah, no, the teams and the people that are there are definitely representation, I would say, and they're very, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Ruth
they
is
went.
there, and Ruth, if you don't know her, she is also amazing.
Yeah, I know her too.
I was introduced to Ruth in the beginning, and like I fell in love with her, and she was helped make this thing a really amazing project. So I can say thank you always to her for bringing in all of the contacts and helping us to put together the coaches and the workshops and the whole program. So she really made it.
She is a force. And
I'm very happy. And she got the rabbit hopping, definitely.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Ruth, actually. Okay. Coming back to the more general side of building a good environment for your work, and we spoke about the COVID influence and so on. I think just how can remote teams be more transparent and communicate well with their employees and coworkers online, because not everyone has the opportunity, right, to join a space together. So are there some tips that you could give for some teams both sides?
Tips for working in a hybrid way. Well, I can say it's always good to have at least a plan to try to get as many of them together in person sometimes, but it's not always possible. So I definitely recommend a couple of things. One thing would be a code of conduct for how people communicate with each other online, because I think that is something where you could get into some toxic behaviors that you see online in other situations, and you need to make sure that that's not happening in your team. So I think that that's a really good place to start. I actually really liked seeing that in the oh no, I was getting into the social media platform that everybody uses.
Hive, Mastodon, one of those?
No. Shoot. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I just love that the code of conduct was like at the top of the thing when you joined into the different servers, and so I think that's really, really good. I think also something to keep in mind is if you have a meeting, but actually generally probably a hybrid meeting where you have like say 2 people in person and then everyone else is like in a single space, or that you should just avoid that. You should just make those 2 people go ahead and find their own monitors, because like actually the relationship of 2 humans in one space physically is really different than to the screen. So I would always recommend to separate those in-person people, even if it feels kind of silly, especially if you're talking about important things or maybe emotional topics, especially. Like if you're making big decisions and things like that, you definitely need to have an equal playing field. Yeah. That would be my biggest advice, like those 2 things. Like to try to give as much possibility for actual in-person interaction if you can, if it's possible. And if not, to make sure that those online Zoom meetings are a fair playing field for everybody.
I think that is a good point, because especially if people like join the team like very new, or they don't know the people that they're working with outside of the online environment, it's also much harder to really tell how a person is, right? So whenever you have the chance to bring these people together at least once, it's so good for the working in general to know each other a little bit more, and just to be like, they probably didn't mean it this way, they probably just meant it this way, and they just write like that, for example. Because I can tell that myself, that whenever I write a message, I tend to overthink a little bit and be like, what if they meant it in this way or so? And then I know the person, so I can then have a more reliable judgment of that. Text,
email, like also that could be a thing even for any other time. Like if you have a email exchange with someone and you realize that it's not quite functioning, just give the person a call, because it's much better. And then usually everything is sorted out in 5 minutes rather than trying to like over-explain a giant email.
30 emails later,
Yeah. No. It's weird, because I actually was more on this thing where I would like kind of avoid that the phone call, and now I'm like, no, actually I make more phone calls now than a couple of years ago, because I just don't want to have these misunderstandings.
I like video call even more than I thought I did, because I was like, oh God, what if I don't feel like being on the call? But then again, it just takes like 2 minutes, you sort it out and you're done, and not like have to write 20 Slack messages. So
exactly.
And you mentioned that it would be cool to bring people together. Do you have any recommendations for team bonding experiences like that, or?
Oh, I think it's, you know what, I think that you should never be afraid to do an icebreaker. As goofy as it sounds, and maybe some people might be a little bit like thinking they don't want to do it. Actually, icebreakers are really good for the introverts in a group, or not even like a hardcore introvert, but just somebody who might be feeling a little socially awkward or not sure of their place in a group situation. An icebreaker will help that person to at least speak some words, because that's like one group dynamic thing that you, especially when people haven't met in person before, can happen. So I think don't be afraid to look up the icebreakers and find a good, like a couple of funny ones, but also ones that allow people to actually have a conversation with someone. I can always recommend that. Then there's so many resources online. I also would recommend to consider to hire a professional coach or a mediator. So if you have a goal that you want to achieve with a team, actually there's something about group dynamics that if you have a group size that's larger than 7, it's actually difficult for everyone in that group to have like an equal voice. So it's really helpful to have a mediator to help organize the discussion or the work, so that everybody has a voice, that you divide into groups, but that mediator is an external person and a neutral person.
So without any prior judgment.
And no judgment, but also then you don't have to take away somebody's mind from the work you want to accomplish for organizing the group.
Oh, right, because that person can also participate.
Exactly. So if I'm leading like a group activity in my teens, then sometimes I forget about, and I'm like, oh, the time goes, you know, and like it's really helpful to have an external person.
Nice. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Cool. I hope that some of you can also use these tips for your next.
Look, everyone's trying to help me now.
Did you enemy?
What is
oh,
it?
really? Someone said Discord before.
Yeah, it is Discord.
It is Discord?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Nice.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I didn't use Discord before the rabbit.
All right, it's the one thing that probably all the gaming people really use, right?
And I really liked it anyway. And I really and I explored it a little bit. And there was a lot of code of conducts in the different servers before you really joined a.
Ah, right, yeah, which you also have to accept.
Yes, you have to read it, or you don't have to read it, but you have to accept it at least. I mean, I was reading them.
Yeah, I was reading them too. Nice.
Thank you, Internet.
Coming back a little bit to the connection with Brandenburg and so on. So you wanted to boost diversity there more and highlight also the tourism side of things in your own very particular way, which is nice. And for indie developers maybe in particular, do you think that there are any events that you could recommend to get more involved in the technical and like political conversations? Is that something you know about or?
Events like in Brandenburg, I'm not sure if I have an exact event. I could definitely recommend
maybe
coming
even
to Coconut.
Outside.
No, I think what's interesting is that actually like where we are and all around Brandenburg actually, and in a lot of rural spaces, especially in Germany, I can 100% say that there's like a lot of creative spaces opening and developing. So we are a founding member of something called Netz für Zukunftsorte, which is very German sounding, and it means the network for future spaces. And they are mapping and networking all of the spaces that are kind of popping up all over the place. And in our region, like it's been really amazing. So we moved there 5 years ago. A couple of organizations have come. We co-founded another nonprofit that focuses on rural development, a lot of digital development things. We started to do our own, actually we have our own event. It's called Kreativsause, and it's actually done with it's done with, we don't do it by ourselves, it's a partnership event, and we have a lot of workshops, and it's every summer. We host a lot of workshops at Coconut, but there's also workshops in other spaces. It's definitely growing. And we just have we also have a new, well actually they've been there for a year now, so there's a place called Alte Hölle that's very close to us, which was started by like a subgroup of the CCC and the fusion groups. I mean, they're related anyway, so they're also in our area. They're organizing things, so you might actually have different opportunities to come to our. They're doing their own program and everything. Yeah. We do have a really good connection, but like keep your eye out. And Brandenburg is really ripe ground for creative projects right now. Definitely, I think that the opportunities that are there, especially now, the connectivity is getting much better. Still an issue.
Germany, I think, is a little bit behind in that case, but still, yeah.
I bet it's getting better, and it is actually getting better, but it's still got a ways to go. But you don't have to always be afraid. You can always ask now, because like for us, for instance, we have fast internet. Oh, we're about to get fiberglass next year, so we'll have our super faster than most places in Berlin internet plus fiberglass soon. So I'm super excited about that. So you'll find that there's more connectivity. You'll find there's more like-minded people who are moving to the countryside. So, which is why people sometimes they'll visit Coconut when they're deciding if they want to come to the region, which is great. So that you can see that there's people working on all kinds of projects. It's not that you need to feel like you won't find people that you can connect with. Maybe it's music, maybe it's lifestyle. Yeah. Maybe it's vegetarian food, maybe it's whatever topics you want to work on. There's a lot of people, a lot of movement going on right now, which is really cool.
That's very nice to hear. Yeah, I think in general there's like a rather big overlap of people that are active in any type of industry, like games industry or creative industry in general, that want to have some impact, some positive impact and some change, not only in their own work environment, but also in a bigger kind of field. So Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, and how could maybe companies get started or like become more active in the area of sustainability? Is this something that could be easily achieved? Probably not.
I think that it's interesting. I mean, I think that for a new company, like I could speak from our experience, you know, from the impetus of the company. If you have that, or from the impetus of sustainability within the building of your company, everything is possible.
Yeah.
So, so if you're just starting a new initiative or new company, and you can put impact and sustainability as part of the framework, then you have such a great opportunity. So that's, I mean, what we did. We make decisions on everything in operations, like from what cleaning products we use to what sheets we buy, based on different sustainability things. We did get a circular assessment, which went really well, and it was really nice to have that. We don't have any of the certifications because honestly, it's a very expensive and time-consuming process to do, and we're a small company. But we do make all the decisions in these ways, and we are able to host organizations that have very high standards of these things because of that. So I can say that we don't have an official certification, but we definitely are able to host organizations that they must have certain things in place. We also had from the beginning the idea that we wanted to have a positive impact on our region. We nurture our relationship with our village really, really strongly. So we host the local fire department. We host the Dorf Fest almost every year. That moves around a little bit but it's often at our place. We host the voting station, and we also listen to what our neighbors might want. And then we also work on a regional level, so then we started to get in touch more with our public sector, and we started working on regional development projects and steering new ideas. We co-founded this nonprofit Smart Village, and the first project from there was an app. It's called the Smart Village app now, and it was the Bad Belzig app, now it's the Smart Village app, because now it's being used by 20 communities, or more than 20 communities in rural Germany. So it was a success here, and it can be used and is being used in other places.
Nice.
So we are using our networks and networking instincts for just connecting all kinds of people and projects. And so what I could recommend for new projects is like, don't be afraid to have this in your DNA, because you can really, like we created a workation, like a hotel with co-working, and like what we're doing is so much more. Yeah. So you can do that with any industry. I mean, if you're an old dinosaur company, you should definitely take input. I mean, if you can change your DNA too, so everything is possible. Obviously, it's more difficult in some situations with financing or whatever, but if the companies really care, they should explore all of the options that they have, listen to the research, find economic ways that make sense, and do the right thing.
And I think to see some actual change happening, to also make it somewhat of a priority, probably, to then be also consistent with that's also okay, to be consistent with your changes, and then also be like, no, we don't do this only for today or this week, but this is something that we want to have like going on from now on, right? I could say, you know what I could say, you know, when I organized the event where we had the 50% female representation in this online focused event, like there's still events where it's not happening, and people are like, but, and it's like, no, you just have to make a decision, and then you can do it, because that's what you have to do. And like, if you want to, you can do it. Like if you don't want to, or you don't put it as a priority, then it's very easy not to do those things. I think it's in general so easy to say, well, but there was no one who applied for that or whatever. It's just like, there are tons of people that are qualified to also speak at your conference, for example, to be on stage, to be representation of whatever sorts, you just have to sometimes
to
go the
apply
extra
for your
step.
positions, like everything.
Yeah, and
everything.
I see that. I mean, 2 of the events that I worked on myself started out with being like frustrated because of this, and was like, how is it possible that I go to this conference and I see a bunch of like women and other diverse folk in the audience, but I see no representation on stage. Like, obviously there are people that are interested in the matter, and I know for a fact that they are also in the industry, so how come? And then the organizers oftentimes, as you mentioned, say, it just didn't happen, or it just, these were the
my favorite one is like, we wanted the best. And they're like,
come on.
Thank you for that.
So I'm very happy that you care for these topics and that you also act on them. We can actually see that it also works out. Well, talking about very intense topics and so on, just to talk about, it can be very tiring to give it your all every day, and especially I feel like in a creative job where you put lots of yourself into it, it can be sometimes even more tiring. And how do you stay happy and healthy in your job and positive maybe for the future?
Question. No, like again from like sort of this like building a place up kind of a phase, or a company up, like, I mean, in the beginning we were putting everything, like almost every minute of our day in, and then over time we were able to share that responsibility with people. And from the beginning we've been building up on this horizontal management structures, which again, like, is not always easy and isn't always easy, but and we struggle in some ways ourselves, but like, we build up a team and we give a certain amount of trust, and the more trust you can give, the less responsibility you need to take, and the less you have on your shoulders. So, I have real weekends.
Nice.
Except this last week. Usually I have real weekends. I don't even have to check Slack on Sunday anymore, which was like always like the thing, because we have people that we trust there that are also very invested in the project. So I also put a lot of energy in, or like me and my other co-founders, we put a lot of energy into making like a real clear like inclusion and diversity statement, our employee value proposition, like what can we give besides money to our team that gives the place value? How can we share our values and make sure that people are really feeling what we want to do? So we put a lot of energy into that. We are in this like amazing situation, which is really not common yet, that we have more applications for jobs than jobs, and and we're in the hospitality sector. Like, I mean, this isn't happening in a lot of places. So I would say we're doing pretty good. And what this also does is allow us to get like amazing new ideas from our team. So we host an exchange as well. Like, so people live on site and they're working on their own work and they work with us. And like, this is like really turned into a gold mine. We have an escape room.
Oh, cool.
This came from two people who were living on site. One of them is still there. One of them, actually, he will come back for the rabbit. He's like, I want to be there when the rabbit's happening, and I'm really happy about it. But these two, like, they just saw like this unused space, and they're like, this space is super creepy. Are you going to do anything with it? And we were like, we can never do anything with it. And they're like, we're going to make it into an escape room. Can we?
Genius,
and I was like,
actually.
yes, you can. Yes, you can. So you can come out. You can come and try it. It's awesome.
Cool. That's so cool.
Lots of projects. Like, things like this is like, it's really, when people have their own, like when people feel an identity with your project, then they give their creativity too in like amazing ways. It's really cool.
That's true. Yeah. And also that they don't have like the pressure on them that they feel like, oh, I can only propose like finished and the best ideas ever or something, because I trust you in return as well, and feel like, oh no, we can have this exchange happening, which is super important, I think.
Yeah, we do it together. Yeah. I mean, and we're also in a position now where we're able to, I mean, we also have like a few more resources than we did in the very beginning. So, I mean, we weren't able to do this right away. Actually, I could also say that we couldn't just do all the crazy ideas in the first year. But like now by year 5, like when people want to try something, we're like, yeah, let's do that. Let's give that a shot, you know, and then we work through it with the people. I also am really happy to do. Actually, I saw somebody mention it already, and I haven't talked about it yet. One of the things that I did with the rabbit, and also what I do in general with different projects at Coconut, is something called a mastermind. And the mastermind is, it's. Have you ever done one? Do you know it?
The mastermind. I mean,
like a session.
Play?
No.
Okay, no. Then I haven't. No.
It's a peer-based productivity tool where a group of people meet, and you can do it in lots of different ways. But the way we did it with the rabbit was to say, okay, you're here for a month. What's your goal for the month? Okay, let's break it down into little steps, and we're going to meet next week and see if you made your step. And if you didn't meet your step, we're going to get advice from these experts in this group of how to reach that goal. And then people work together to make those things happen. So that's also something that I do with people at Coconut, whether it's an idea for us or for them. We do this sort of like breaking down giant projects into littler pieces so that it's not so overwhelming. So this is also what we did.
I think this is a very common technique we also use in game development a lot, like with the Scrum and the milestones and so on.
Exactly.
So I can tell, because like when you're standing in front of the mountain of work you have to do, it feels overwhelming sometimes, and it's very good to break it down a little bit. I mean, you mentioned before how you do it in your personal company, but like in very creative jobs, it's also helpful to get creative support from your company. So what do you think could companies in general do to boost this creativity inside of their own walls?
Think, well, that's interesting. I think a lot of like the new big companies, I think, do a lot of it already. Like they will have these like off-site experiences, or having like brainstorm sessions that don't have to do with the main product, but like allow their teams to come up with new things and new ideas that have nothing to do with like the main work. I think that that's something that old companies that can struggle with, but that they should do. They should allow some space for their teams to work on something that has nothing to do with their main job, or to interact with departments or people who also are really outside of their work. So like these mastermind sessions I was mentioning before, you can do them in different ways. Like one way is to have people who are experts in working in the same department or have the same expertise, because they might be able to answer each other's questions. But if you're looking for creating sort of serendipitous moments, that would happen more when you have people with really different backgrounds in the same space, who can talk about their work or their projects and then get suggestions from people with really different like ways of looking at problems or challenges. That's something for sure. I definitely think for a younger company who probably is struggling with capacities like of time and money, that giving yourself yourself a break. Sorry, I just touched the microphone. But to really, to still keep in mind that people do need breaks, and like also, like, so if you're the leader or like the founder, to try to keep it in mind for yourself too, but also for your team, and to keep the expectations in like a realistic one, to give the opportunity to take breaks.
And not to be labeled as like weak or fail if you have to take an extra break, possibly.
Because you don't, I mean, a healthy team, a happy person makes a healthy team, you know. So all of these things, health and happiness go together. And when people are overworked, then they will become unhappy, and then they will become unproductive. And then they don't have any new ideas, and
they feel unsatisfied with their work.
They might not stay. All kinds of things can happen, but I think giving space for people to meet people from other sectors, making sure that breaks are really done, if you start to have like a few extra resources, if you're a new company and maybe you get like a little bit of funding, I definitely recommend offsites. I know that's like what we do, but you don't have to come to Coconut. But I definitely
but you can.
I definitely think getting offsite and outside of your normal office environment or wherever your workspace is, or even if it's home office, but to get out of that and to work on or to do a creative project that has nothing to do with your normal work together is great for team building, and also people will take some of those things in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, from personal experience, we I hosted a couple of game jams before as well, and one game jam was called the Peace Game Jam and the Civic Game Jam, where we brought together activists and we brought game designers or game developers in general, and they all together created games, and it was so interesting to see how these different groups work and think and what they built together. And I feel like everyone after the game jam felt like, okay, we did something today which we haven't never done before, and we could learn from each other a lot and take more things into our daily work from now on. And it was so cool to see, okay, this is not just because it's something else not useful for me, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. And that, like what you said, is key. It's not just in that moment, it stays with you. If it's an impactful moment, it's something you take with you forever. Like it can really change things.
And I think it's great to have the opportunities to do stuff like that. I think so far we are pretty good with the time and the questions, and we also now have some time for the chat. If you have any more questions, then feel free to just post them and we can go over them now together, or if you don't want to post them now and have questions later, you can reach out over the Coconut space or over the Booster space, socials and so on, and then we can also do a little follow-up there. So in general, I think it is so great to have the opportunity. As you said, of course, it costs also some resources to do the offsite events, but I can tell for many people that they could appreciate such time away. And even bigger companies that feel like we have it all figured out, we have a great way to do things, they maybe don't know about stuff like that. So people go to their work every day and feel like, okay, this is all there is, but there is still some more to explore. And I feel like Coconut is a great place and space to try out these things. And as we said, it doesn't only have to be games people or only music or art people or whatever. It can be whoever, right, to join the space.
Exactly. That was like the idea from the beginning, is that we would have people from all backgrounds, socioeconomic, different topics, themes. We have, I don't know, you'll have students, academics, writers.
Oh, nice,
people working for large companies, people working for remote-only companies or really old beast companies. You never know who's going to be there. And I think that that's what is also really interesting. And you do have a chance to meet people if you're open for that.
If you want to, It's cool. And is there something for your future that you would like to also still see in the Coconut, like something that you aspire to have in the next couple of years, a project that you would like to make true?
There's like actually
one or two.
It's funny because we didn't even pre-do this one, but there is like there is a little project, or it's not really a small project. There's a project that we have decided to go for, which is expanding to a second location.
Oh, nice.
We put in a proposal for taking over our local castle. So
castle. Oh my God.
So Coconut's actually hosting quite a lot of people, and in the last summer, our last summer was our busiest time ever in the history of Coconut. And we're kind of bursting at the seams sometimes, so we would like to take over the castle. Our concept is we have a few things that we would like to implement in the castle, so we would like it to be an open and dynamic place for the town. So right now it's being used for local initiatives, so we would like to have it still continue to be used in that way as a social space. But the themes and the topics we want to bring in would be topics for good, change makers, social and impact-driven companies and events. And so we would like to move our groups and seminars there, and we will most likely have to have a new structure for the castle, because we will be looking for a lot of funding. We would like to change it into a CO2 neutral operation, which will take quite some funding, lots of things. So basically we want it to be a center point for change makers, impact driven projects, people who are working on different topics in Brandenburg, outside of Berlin, in Central Europe, in Germany. People can come by train, people can come by bike.
Nice. Nice. People
That's our next
even.
pretty big. We've just put the proposal into the city. We're still, it's still in like super beginning phase.
That sounds so fun though.
Definitely get in touch if you're interested in talking about it, because we're definitely working on it.
Great. Well, there is also one game jam, which is called the Castle Game Jam, which happens in a castle. So
I know. I talked to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. James is it, right?
What's it?
I
From
think
Sweden, right?
Yeah, exactly. From
He sent it to me. Yeah.
Great.
I won't like. I mean, I could imagine working together with him in the future too.
I mean, it's
Games for Change at the castle. Perfect. It would really be nice. Yeah.
Well, I think that sounds great. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Ruth.
Nice. If there are no more questions from the chat, I think then we are actually good to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, you're probably open to be talked to in the future. Get some emails, reach out.
Yeah.
And
I'm always happy to answer questions and to connect people in different projects as well. So we're working we've got the rabbit for the games industry, but we're working with all different industries and all kinds of things. And keep your eye out for the rabbit. It's really coming soon. Coming soon. So.
Yeah, I can't say enough. Thank you so much for coming here today, to being an inspiring story for the Womenize. And I was very happy to talk to you, learn more about creative spaces and healthy work environments and so on. And I hope that I can one day also visit the Coconat myself, work there for a bit.
You're always welcome.
That's so great. So thank you again so much. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for Landestan moderating the chat and Ruth picking out all the details. Thank you so much. It was really fun. And we hope to see you again to the next either Womenize Inspiring Stories, or for the next really cool Booster Space event happening here on stream. So have a wonderful day, and we will see you very soon. We're gonna rate Just Giggles. Yes, looking forward to that as well. Okay, so have a wonderful day, and we see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.